sheet, the first thing that jumps out is the rebounds. Was this just a matter of, coaches always say you can't teach size. Was this just a matter of overwhelming size in the paint?
It's interesting in our leading up to this game in our pregame talk, rebounding was a big part of it because last year when we played Wake at Wake, they hurt us on the boards, and yes, they're bigger, yes, they're lengthy and long, and they were very physical, but you got to push people out of their spots. We turned, but we didn't push back enough, and you got to be more physical, and you need. Your smaller guards have got to learn to be able to block out bigger players. And you saw it on that one possession with about 3 minutes to go when they got 4 or 5 rebounds, 3 of them over Phil, and really literally over her. And it wasn't even that she didn't block out. But what I talked about at the beginning of the game is when you play zone, you're going to have a lot of outside shots, you're going to have a lot of threes, you're going to have a lot of long rebounds. And those long rebounds hurt us today.
What was the defensive focus coming in? In the first half, they shot 52%. At the end of the game, they were shooting 38 for the whole game. What kind of adjustments did you make defensively to try to bring that down for them?
Well, what we talked about is when the first half, when we made them work for shots, they didn't hit. When they actually had to take outside shots, they didn't hit a lot of them. We weren't making them work for their shots. All their shots the first half were in the paint, and we weren't doubling their post players enough when they got the ball and that. So we talked a little bit about that, taking chances a little bit more, and I felt like also at times we extended our zone too much and allowed the interior pass. So we talked about tightening up our zone a little bit, except where number 3 was when she was in the game, Collier. But really, other than that, it's just basic adjustments. But more than anything, it's about rebounding. That was the difference. That, and you got to hit your free throws. We were 7 for 15 today, and I think maybe once we had a player hit 2 in a row, Raven Short. Other than that, everybody else was either 1 for 2 or 0 for 1.
Wake Forest missed a lot of their free throws as well, and they had more turnovers than you guys. Did you feel like maybe the team was getting a bit frustrated? I mean, with the technical, with Akil, with the way that the game was going.
Are you asking, did our team get frustrated?
Yeah. It seemed, there was some tension that built up,
Actually, after that technicals when we started making our run. And it actually, I think, maybe worked for us a little bit because it got our team emotional. It didn't help us the fact that she got the foul and the technical, and that put her at 4 fouls. But when Akil went out of the game and the emotions were high, that actually played in our favor. And we did a good job of getting it to, I believe, we tied it at, was it 51 all, or I believe. But you got to make plays at the end. We made some plays. They made more plays, and that was the difference. At the end, our post, I told our post, you got to handle double teams, you got to pass out of double teams. We doubled a couple times, and they made some nice passes out of it. Chris struggled today. She was battling some illness beforehand, and we didn't have her in at halftime because she was getting sick, and she played through it, but she wasn't as sharp today as she usually is.
Sabrina McKinney comes in, gives you 10 points, hits a couple of 3-pointers, and you've always said that you want a point guard who can make plays at the end of the game, like you said. Is she that kind of player who can handle the ball, secure the ball, and then potentially be the kind who can make those plays down the stretch?
Well, Sabrina knows the game. She is a smart player. There's areas that Sabrina needs improvement. When she goes to the hoop and there's contact and there's no call, she tends to lay on the ground a little bit too long. She needs to worry about getting down the other end, but what I like is she will look to make plays. And the thing about Sabrina is she's really more of a passer. Today's the first time probably this whole year, not just in games, but in practice, including practice, that I've seen her be so aggressive with her shot. And it was nice because, we've been rotating our point guards, and that's an area that I'm not very happy with right now, and she kind of solidified some things for me. It was nice to see her progress, but also Raven Short's game progress. She got a little bit more aggressive on the offensive end, and we've kind of been waiting for that because Raven's been playing, I guess you would say, what we call pressing. She's pressing out there where you try, sometimes you're so tight that you tend to make more mistakes than you do make the right decisions.
You've also been waiting for Samantha Monosmith to find her stroke, and she hit 3 threes in the first half. How encouraging is that is that for you going forward if she can start getting that stroke consistently from behind the arc?
I'll tell you what, if we can ever get Samantha and Alicia to be on the same night from the outside, it could be a pretty good night for us. The other day, Alicia pulled through with her 6 or 7 threes rather that she had, and Sam got her stroke going. But we don't have a lot of wiggle room. We don't have. We're not a great three-point shooting team. We've gotten better in the last couple games, but if we can get Raven to hit some shots like she did, and Sabrina to hit some shots, and Sam and Alicia to be more consistent, that's going to improve our outside shooting. And we also got a running game going during that stretch. That was the speaking of scoring, I guess, is one of the areas that we've talked about looking to score a little bit more is in our transition game. But you got to get stops to get your transition game going. So during that run is we got some stops and we got a running game going, and we hit some nice shots.
Wake was up 9, I think, at halftime. Went on a couple runs where it looked like it could have gotten lopsided. Right. What kinds of things were you talking about during timeouts on the bench, and what did you see from your team as they were able to close that gap several times?
Well, in the first half, first of all, we got to avoid these droughts we keep hitting. It's driving me. It's really going to give me gray hair right now because we're getting these droughts, and what we talked about during that time, because they really could have extended that lead. I can't remember if it was like 14 at one point. I think
18.
Was it 18? Was it? Yeah, maybe I just didn't want to know that, but. What we talked about is not being impatient on offense. During that time, when you're in a drought and the other team has the momentum, the worst thing you want to do is take quick shots. And that's where we have players come in and they want to be a hero and they want to take shots and score, but they got to know their roles. So we withstood that run and ended up being up 9. Then the second half, we withstood 1 or 2 of their runs. And to be honest, I think the confidence factor took over for us in the second half. It's like all of a sudden a light bulb went off and said, "Wait a minute, we're in this game." And sometimes I think Breezy's 2 threes is what gave us that confidence.
Now you have a break, Christmas break. You have a whole week before you have to play again. Do you think having that break where some of the kids can go home and kind of regroup will help you, going forward?
My last words to them were, and as they always are when they go home for Christmas, because I'll tell you what, I told them, I said, I toyed with bringing them back to practice tomorrow, but I just didn't think anything good would come out of it. And so I'm giving them a couple days off, but I said, listen, we've worked too hard to get our conditioning and to be in this type of shape. You take 4 days off and don't do anything, it's going to really hurt you. And I said, I'm not there, I can't run you, you're home, this is your choice, whether or not to go out and work out, but it is important for you to do that, because when we come back, we got 2 practices on the 26th. We'll get some conditioning in that day, of course, and then the next day is the day before game. We're going to have to practice hard that day, even though it's a day before game, because we're only going to have 3 practices before that game. And so am I a little nervous about that? Yes, but these kids need a break.